Today's video will be a Mizuno review. Aren't you glad I didn't say Nike? What's going on, guys? Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com, bringing you my review plus on-feet video of a pair of boots that certainly do not get the attention that they deserve, the new orange, blue, and white colorway of the made in Japan Mizuno Rebula 2 V1. Now, in my opinion, and keep in mind this is just my opinion, when you're talking about the best quality football boots that money can buy, the made in Japan Mizuno product line is by far the best. Better than Nike, better than Adidas, better than Puma. Name any brand. I don't think anyone makes boots with as high quality materials and with the quality of construction as the made in Japan Mizuno products, the Rebula 2 V1 being part of that product line. The downside, they are quite expensive. These guys have a retail price of $300, but if you're into very simple kangaroo leather boots that also have a lot of tech built in, there really isn't anything quite like the Rebula 2 V1, making it easily one of the most underrated boots on the market right now. I'm gonna talk about exactly why that is. We're gonna take a closer look at this very good looking colorway, and of course take a look at how they fit and feel on feet as well. So if you're interested in learning more about this extremely underrated pair of boots, please stick around, watch the entire video, and if you're interested in a pair of these for yourself in this colorway or any of the previous ones that have actually been marked down, you can click the first link down below or the little pop-up on screen. That'll take you to the review page on my website where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes where you'll be able to pick these up below their normal $300 retail price. If you guys do end up enjoying the video and want to see more reviews from, I don't want to say the smaller brands, but the less popular brands, be sure to support this video with a like. And if you're new here watching for the first time, don't forget to hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you get notified when the next new video goes live, which happens every single day. Included with the boots is a box that says Made in Japan, along with this little bag that actually includes a leather care kit, which contains a small tube of leather cream, an applicator cloth, and this little booklet that explains exactly how to apply the leather cream. They also include a boot bag, which admittedly is not that special. It's black in color with the bronze Made in Japan Mizuno branding. Pretty much the exact same string bag with every single pair of Made in Japan Mizuno boots, but the fact that they include anything at all is still definitely a plus. So my string bag rating on this is going to be a 3.7 out of 9.34. So starting off with the colorway itself, we don't get too many new colorway releases from Mizuno, but this is definitely one that I really like the look of. If you're into flashy boots, you're gonna love this colorway. The bright orange they have for the kangaroo leather portion of the upper just really pops. It's a unique shade of orange, extremely bright if that's what you're into. And up close, hopefully you guys can see this in the video, it has this little kind of sparkly detail to it. Again, it looks very expensive, which it is. Then you're gonna find the royal blue as an accent towards the heel as well as across the top of the foot, accenting very nicely with the orange, and then white as your third color in the form of the Mizuno branding on the lateral side of the boot as well as at the heel, your Rebula logo there on the medial side, and then there's some little white strips through the blue laces as well as an additional accent. You will notice, however, that the heel liner is gray, which doesn't match anything else on the boot, and pretty much all the suede heel liners from Mizuno always end up being gray in color, and that's because that's the natural color. They don't dye the heel liner because the dye, the actual coloring, can actually compromise the softness and durability of the material itself. They never want to compromise the feel or quality of the boot for the sake of looks, so they just leave it in the natural color, which I really do appreciate, and honestly, don't mind the look of. It's not something that you notice when you're wearing the boots anyways. And then the sole plate, as you can see, the stud tips are kind of translucent white. It's the best way to describe it, kind of a milky color. And then of course the sole plate is partially blue and partially orange to match the rest of the boot. It's a simple colorway, a really clean combination of colors. And I have to say, I'm not into super bright boots, but I really like the way that these look. Now, if you regularly watch the channel, you may have seen the video that I recently posted where I compared the new laceless Copa 19 Plus from Adidas and the Tiempo Legend 7 Elite from Nike. I titled the video something along the lines of the king of kangaroo leather football boots. And in terms of popularity, those are definitely the two most popular options at the top end price points. $275 for the Copa 19 Plus, $230 for the Tiempo Legend 7 Elite. Both great boots that are very different from each other, even though they kind of strive to achieve similar things. And a lot of you guys in the comment section of that video suggested that I was wrong. The king of modern kangaroo leather football boots is in fact the one I'm holding in my hands right now, the Made in Japan Mizuno Rebula 2 V1. And in all honesty, when you're talking about pure build quality and quality of materials, I can't really disagree with that. This, you could argue, beats out both of those two boots in regards to just straight up quality. Is it the best performing of the two? That's really a matter of opinion. And in my opinion, I don't think that this necessarily outperforms something like the Tiempo Legend 7 Elite. However, in terms of just being premium and great quality boots overall, you can definitely make an argument that this is just as good, if not the best football boot currently available, especially if you're a fan of kangaroo leather. Now, of course, made in Japan quality, the kangaroo leather is tremendously soft. You get all the orange part of the upper is kangaroo leather, so it's very clear to see how much you're getting, plenty of it. And the leather itself is very, very thin. So the touch on the ball is gonna be more so along the lines of, I don't want to say a mercurial, but it's not going to have that super padded sensation like a Nike Tiempo Legend will. So I guess in regards to comparing this to something else out there, it is somewhat reminiscent of the Copa 19 Plus, and that is a fairly thin leather upper as well. What makes this unique though in comparison to the Copas or the Tiempos is the utilization of an internal support cage that's actually made out of memory foam. They happen to call it a control frame, which is obviously the name of the Soleplate on the Adidas Predator line right now, but obviously it's something completely different. It reinforces the entire leather upper, which is why you don't see any stitching, and it adds a fair bit of a kind of dampened sensation with minimal extra bulk added to what is a very thin kangaroo leather base. So the end result as far as touch on the ball is concerned is something very thin with that slight dampened sensation, but still the softness and comfort and I guess traditional feel that you would expect from a very high quality kangaroo leather boot. It takes a little bit of break-in time, but once you get a couple hours of wear time in these, the upper just molds around your foot pretty much perfectly, and they really just feel super, super natural. That to me is one of the greatest experiences of this particular boot. Everything else about the design though is pretty straightforward. You're gonna find that it does have an off-centered lacing system pushed slightly to the lateral side, and it runs nice and deep. So despite the upper not being heavily reinforced, it's left pretty much just pure soft leather. When you tie the laces tight, because the lacing system does run so far down the boot, you get a really snug, secure fit. So this is going to be more responsive than something like a laceless Copa 19 Plus, but not necessarily quite as responsive as what you'd find from the Tiempos. That's just me making a very quick comparison off the top of the head. As far as the tongue is concerned, that's kind of a unique element of this boot in that it isn't made out of leather. It's made out of this elasticated mesh material, and it's actually an internal kind of booty type construction where you're going to find that this tongue actually wraps around the sides of the boot. So it is used as somewhat of a reinforcement element, kind of an internal sock if you want to call it that. It's not something that I particularly love. I wouldn't mind a free-flowing tongue, but what is nice about this is once you put it on, the tongue's not going to move around because it's physically wrapped around your foot like a sock would be, and it's not something that you really notice. So I don't want to pick it apart as a negative thing. I would just rather not have the extra layer of material through the midfoot, but again, it's not something that hurts the performance or feel of the boot in any way at all. Of course, moving to the rear, it's a pretty standard low cut. You're going to find an internal plastic heel counter as well, and then as far as the suede heel liner is concerned, it's some of the best quality suede you'll find on any football boot, period. Really soft, plenty of padding, and it grips your heel in place really nicely. The insole is fully removable, and while it might look pretty ordinary with a mesh liner and a single layer of this white foam, this is not a regular mesh. This liner on top, not sure if you're gonna be able to see this in the video, has a little bit of a grittiness to it, like a very fine sandpaper is kind of the best way I would describe it, which sounds like it would be uncomfortable, but the reason why it's slightly gritty is to actually grip your sock. So it kind of works like a grip sock element, and it legitimately does make a difference. It's probably one of the more underrated football boot technologies that people don't really give the attention that it deserves. But if you find that your feet really slide around on the base of your soles in any of your football boots, these particular insoles that you get on the Made in Japan Mizuno products, not just the Rebula, really do work well. Moving on to the sole plate and stud pattern on the Rebula, it's probably my least favorite aspect of this particular boot. Don't get me wrong, it's not bad by any means, but it's certainly not one of my personal favorites, even from the Mizuno brand. Now the sole plate is quite interesting in that it does have a fairly unique construction along with the actual studs themselves. You're gonna notice that the studs in the blue area have this extra layer of plastic kind of running through the middle. It's basically a reinforcement in this blue area of the sole plate, kind of extending running through the heel and midfoot, and then wrapping around the outside edge of the forefoot, it's actually stiffer, much stiffer than the orange part, which is actually left quite flexible. Obviously, it's very high quality materials, but the logic behind this kind of unusual construction, where it's kind of split on a 45-degree angle across the midfoot in regards to where it's stiff and where it's flexible, is for the sake of some kind of stability when planting your foot to strike the ball. There's a very high-tech explanation as to exactly how this is supposed to work. Honestly, it doesn't really feel that different from other sole plates that I've worn on high-end boots, but the technology is supposedly there. As far as the stud pattern is concerned, it's really nothing special. The studs themselves are oval in shape, so it's kind of like this conical bladed stud hybrid, but for the most part, they end up just feeling like conical studs. The actual profile of the stud is quite large, so they don't necessarily dig into the ground that deep, especially if it's not a very premium field. So the amount of traction that you get, I don't want to say isn't aggressive, but it's not as aggressive as what you'd find from something like the new Copa 19 or even the Tiempo line especially. There's some bladed studs running through the middle as kind of support studs, and then a little bit of a toe pick stud, kind of Mercurial-esque right here at the very edge. But for the most part, the stud pattern does end up feeling pretty traditional, which again, is not a bad thing. I just would have expected or wanted something a little bit more aggressive given what they've done with the upper. But as far as actual durability is concerned, you're gonna notice something that we don't see that often, a rivet here at the tip of the toe. If you're worried about durability, while these made in Japan Mizuno products are quite expensive, they tend to hold up extremely well, although it's worth noting that this is a firm ground stud pattern intended to be used exclusively on natural grass. This is not a boot that I would necessarily recommend wearing exclusively on AG surfaces. And then finally, when it comes to weight, I would say that the look of this boot is kind of very sleek, almost speed boot-esque, and the weight to a certain extent does reflect that. In a size 9.5 US, the Made in Japan Rebula 2V1 weighs in at about 7.8 to 7.9 ounces, which is on par with most other top-end models, and they're gonna feel relatively lightweight on your feet. If there's one thing about the quality of Made in Japan Mizuno products, it's the laces they use. For whatever reason, they just kind of feel and look a little bit cheap. Not to the point where they're bad, but they could definitely be better, which is why I've swapped out the stock laces for some wide orange reflective SR4U replacement laces. It perfectly matches the orange color and just makes the boots pop a little bit more. Obviously, these are going to be more uncommon. You're unlikely to run into somebody with the same boots, but if you want to change up the style of your boots in a fairly inexpensive way, SR4U laces are a great way to do that. And of course, they're available at www.sr4ulaces.com. So if you're interested in a pair, there'll be a little pop-up on screen as well as a link down below in the description. So be sure to go ahead and check that out. On feet, the Rebulas feel really, really good. The kangaroo leather is thin, it's soft, it's flexible. They have a very natural sensation on feet. The sole plate doesn't have a lot of stiffness to it either, especially through the forefoot. So again, there's not a lot of stiffness to the feel of this upper. The heel liner grips your socks really nicely. Lockdown is very good because of that deep lacing system. It allows you to get a nice snug fit. And the overall shape and fit of this boot is very speed boot-esque, even though it is a kangaroo leather upper that you'd expect a more traditional feel out of. If I had to compare the shape to any other boot out there, it kind of reminds me a little bit of the Nike Hypervenom Phantom 3, but maybe with a little bit less volume, so a little bit more snug than those, but that's important. You want them to fit snug because the leather is so soft. It is going to stretch as you wear them in. So as comfortable as they feel right now out of the box, the more you play in them, the more comfortable they're going to get. So they fit really, really well. Width-wise, if you don't like a super tight fit, maybe these aren't going to be the best option for you. I know leather boots are typically better suited for wider feet, but I wouldn't say that these are super, super wide. They do have a tighter fit overall. If you want Mizuno leather boots that are a little bit wider, I would probably just stick with the standard Morelia 2. Those are going to be a lot more comfortable and traditional as far as how they're shaped. These have a tighter fit overall. So as long as you don't mind that tight fit and you don't have super wide feet, these will fit most people. And as far as the sizing is concerned, I'm wearing these in my usual size 9.5 US, and the fit and the length is absolutely perfect. So if you are looking to order a pair for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. So So in conclusion, I'm confident in saying that the made in Japan Mizuno Rebula 2V1 is as good as any modern kangaroo leather football boot out there. Is it the best of the best? That's really a matter of opinion. If we are comparing it, circling back to where we started, to the Tiempos and the Copa 19 Plus, even the Copa 19.1, they're all excellent boots. It's just kind of a matter of taking your pick in regards to what you really, really want. I think if you're after straight up objective performance in regards to a modern kangaroo leather boot that has the leather feel, but is also super lightweight, responsive, and has that aggressive traction, the Tiempo is probably the way to go. If you want something that's super sleek and unique as far as design is concerned, maybe go for the Copas. But if you just want the best possible quality and a boot that just feels very sturdy on your feet with all the premium materials and all the tech you could possibly want, and you're just a fan of having something a little bit different, then you definitely cannot go wrong with the Mizuno Rebula 2V1. Slight elbow crack. Basically what I'm getting at is if you have any interest in this boot at all and you can justify the price tag, you're not gonna be disappointed. Anyways guys, that's it for this one. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to support it with a like. Again, if you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, you can click the first link down below. That'll take you to the review page on my website where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes where you'll be able to pick these up below their normal $300 retail price in multiple different colorways. If you have any questions, as always, leave them down below in the comments and I'll do my best to get an answer out to you as soon as I possibly can. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well, so follow me there if you don't already. And other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.